What is going on, Juju gang? I hope everyone's doing well. Hopefully, my audio is coming in clear. I don't want to say emergency live stream, but definitely a breaking news live stream. As you probably have already read by the title, Form 4s have finally come out. And I say finally because it seems like in the last couple of days, there's been a lot of chatter of this happening and volume kind of dictated as much. That Elon has sold more Tesla shares. So let's go into all the details in terms of how it's sold. It's still happening. So as you're watching this, feel free to tweet at me with breaking news as it comes out. We'll try to digest some of this. And full disclosure, I was actually recording a new video, and in the middle of recording this thing, I had to pause because my phone was blowing up, and I was like, "Screw the video for tonight." It was going to be a Tesla tech FANG valuation video talking about PE ratios and pegs and all this sort of stuff. But I feel like this warrants more of it. Let me know if in the comments if my audio is coming in okay. Hopefully it is. To be honest, I didn't have enough time to prepare for the live stream with all the tech, so I'm just I'm just really hoping. I'm just really hoping that it is coming in okay. So let me know in the chat. Okay, thank you, Gonzalo. Blake, Mimi, how's it going, folks? I think I know. Okay, awesome. Julio, Randy, so many familiar faces. And, I love that I can just randomly throw up a live stream and we all get together and try to digest what's happening. Okay, so let's read it. Solar tweets breaking news. Elon Musk has sold 21,995,000 shares of Tesla Monday through Wednesday, worth north of 3 billion. I think the updated metric is 3.5. That's just at least what I've read on Twitter before I came on here. According to form filings tonight. So as you look at this, and I'm not going to bore you with reading all this sort of stuff, I can't say this was unexpected. In fact, was it Monday's video? And I've been tweeting this out kind of like, honestly, a little bit mad, talking about how I really think Elon is selling. I know I don't want it to sound like a revisionist history. He actually is just trying to take some credit, but I've been kind of sounding the alarm bells. And here, I'll actually show you my tweet if I can here. For 2 days in a row. Today, I tweeted out this, not about TikTok. I tweeted another huge volume day in Tesla, 120 million shares traded with just an hour to go. And then yesterday, I tweeted out saying crazy sell off this morning, 65 million the first 1.5 hours. Do we see Form 4s? This was yesterday. So obviously, it seems like yes. And hopefully, it didn't sound like too much of a pat on the back, but it's obvious he sold. And so now we get these Form 4s. Let's try to digest. Gonzalo says, according to Solar it's 3.5 billion. Okay, so let's digest this. I think the worry that we had a last couple months of, okay, well, Elon has never said that he's done selling after he said he wasn't going to sell, kind of opened up this Pandora's box, right? If we talk about Tesla weakness, you could argue in the last month and a half, 2 months, Twitter has been part of it. But you can't tell me that short sellers haven't loved this open-ended Elon might sell whenever the hell he wants scenario. Now, as we sit here on Tesla at $156, which is really crazy to think about, how much of the weakness, let me know in the chat, do you think is oriented with Elon selling in the last little bit here? Would you say macro has been it, Elon selling, the Twitter? People like to say the Twitter distraction, but this is full on, obviously, selling pressure. One thing I do want to ask, and if anyone in the comments knows this, definitely let me know. It feels like, why isn't Elon selling? And I'm just going to put the chat box properly here for people that watch on replay. Why isn't Elon looking at dark pools or institutions to sell through this? I'm just a little bit confused as to why. If you talk about institutional selling and block trades would be, generally speaking, a good way to go about selling. And it feels like it's been mostly open market selling. At least that's what it feels like. I also don't know if I should share this. Hold on. On Discord this weekend, I wrote this. Hold on one sec. And maybe this is, in the future, this might be a tell for us. Okay. I tweeted this out this weekend on Discord. I said, I've spent the last hour reading Twitter to catch up, and I feel like I'm still missing half of the Gong Show. What a mess. And this was on Sunday. I say, I hate to see it, but when Elon goes on rampages, it usually means there's some news with Tesla upcoming. Last time was the viral Null podcast after the shareholder meeting, and he sold shares. So there's that. And then also, if you guys remember, there's news this weekend and even yesterday that Elon had urgent board meetings with Tesla to consider. So there's that. Let's read some comments out in the chat. Feel free to throw your comments in, and I'll try to read some out. Again, this is me just debriefing with you guys live. So if anything comes out, feel free to put it in. Maybe says, I've never understood why he always seeked an open market. To be fair, that is an assumption on my end. You know what they say about people that make assumptions, but just from the price action, it really does feel like it is open market selling, and there's not a lot of private institutional block trades happening here. So we'll see. And macro has definitely been a part of it as well. Is Elon done? That's the big question. That's the question. Is Elon done? Throw in the comments. Yes or no. Yes or no. Is Elon done? By the way, if anyone, I know the Juju gang is always a little bit shy, but if anyone wants to come on stream and chat about this, and why not I open it up? I don't have a long time to stream, to be fair. I don't have a huge time, but if you have good internet, you have a good video and audio connection, feel free to come on. We can do like a talk show live reaction thing. Keep it clean, of course. I don't have a lot of time because I got the Canucks game to also disappoint me tonight. It's coming on soon. Okay. For 6 weeks he's done. Well, look, this was I think there's the reports of Twitter. Everyone keeps saying that Twitter is close to cash flow positive. Everyone thinks that Twitter is making all this profit now. Folks, it's not going to be this fast of a turnaround. It's going to take time. And to be fair, should have learned our lesson from last time. Until Elon tells us he is done selling, we can't assume he's done selling. That's just the bottom line. Ty says, when's the next strong point? Technically speaking, I said this on my Monday video. We don't want to close this week. We don't want to close this week before below the 164-ish 200 week moving average. I know. Believe it or not, we're talking about 200 week moving averages. Do not want to see a close below that. That opens up our next kind of support in the 120s. I'm not saying we get there. But that also presumes Elon's done, right? But we do not want to close below that 200 week moving average. You want to see bulls defend that line there. Let's see here. Too many text messages. What's happening? I don't think we're going to get a rationale from Elon as to when he sold anytime soon. Paul says Elon probably spends more time on Tesla than most CEOs spend at doing stuff at their own companies. I do agree with that. Although, of course, optics aren't on that side, Paul. Everyone needs to chill out until earnings. This is kind of it. I mean, earnings are going to talk for themselves, and this is good or bad, right? In a way that you look at earnings for Q4 coming up, and we're still in Q4. This just in. But if you talk about Q4 earnings, they better surprise, or at the very, like, it almost feels like meeting expectations for Q4 earnings is going to be a miss. That's just the sentiment I get. Like, it feels like everyone is expecting Tesla to really step it up in Q4, because what's going to happen is if Tesla even misses slightly, I can already see the narratives coming out from Wall Street. If Tesla misses on revenue or ASP or gross margin ex ZEV credits, I already see the narratives coming out. Do you guys agree with that? Like, you know, if Tesla does miss on any sort of metric there's very little room for error and for excuses for Tesla in Q4. And I said this in my last week's video. I said, it's funny that we always talk about Tesla as if it's just Elon, right? There's 100,000 plus awesome employees at Tesla that do the majority of the heavy lifting. Of course, not strategically, but in terms of execution, that's kind of feels like where we are at the moment. Yeah, it feels like that, Julio. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Okay. You guys agree. So Valerian says exactly why Elon said don't do margin number times. Yes, he has said that recently. And the comments that, like, I use the term rampage really, like, loosely, but the rampage this weekend with the media futstorm and Elon's tweets really signaled to me that, okay, there is something coming. Volume, of course, kind of led me into that as well. But I was also fooled by volume last month. I forget what day it was last month. Or maybe a month and a half ago, I was on stream. I was saying this really is extremely heavy volume, and Form 4s didn't come out. So um, I don't expect Tesla to miss Q4, right? Because to be fair, the expectations are coming down in terms of what is expected for Tesla in Q4. Like, folks, I was doing an EPS video, like fundamental video, right? And I was looking at the general sentiment of, okay, this is what EPS growth is for Amazon, Apple, Ford, GM, and this is what it is for Apple for Tesla. And it's just crazy how low expectations are for next year. Today, Morgan Stanley breaking news also came out, said Tesla is their top stock pick for 2023. And they don't even they like if you annualize their Q4 EPS estimate, it's less than what their actual it's their annualized Q4 estimate for next year is more than their actual 2023 fiscal year EPS. Paul, we definitely need a banger, 100%. Valerian says, my take, Elon had his buddies selling Tesla for Twitter. I'm not sure what you mean. Like people that had to also get funded off Tesla? Let's see here. It feels like fundamentals don't matter anymore for sure. But look, okay, I'm just going to clarify. I am not worried about Elon long term on Tesla. I don't think he's distracted. I think the guy puts in way too much work for us to say that he's left Tesla forever and that he's not working on Tesla. I don't buy that. We talk about the optics. Um, that's a different story right now. But that's what they say about optics, right? But is it a good look? No. Now, if Elon doesn't clarify why he sold, can we all assume that there's a chance that he can sell whenever? Which, by the way, is 100% legal, right? Like, I think we should differentiate these nuanced takes a little bit as well. Elon, as a founder of Tesla, earned his shares. He can sell legally with disclosure rights, all that sort of stuff. It's his money, right? Of course. But at the same time now, if we don't hear clarity, because last time we heard clarity, right? In the summer, we heard clarity. Elon said to close the deal, I didn't want to sell shares then, so I sold now and to avoid the emergency sale. That's what he said, August 14th, something like that. But if he doesn't clarify this time around, and he didn't last month, can we assume that there might be still pressure on the downs? And that's why I think short sellers love the stock at the moment as well. You guys tagging me on Twitter? I don't think that's right here. Hold on. So, so I'm gonna pull up my Twitter here. Shout out SMD Capital. Lord Pretty Flacco says it'd be interesting to dissect exactly how much Twitter estimated to burn in the next year and compare it to Elon's cash flows. Heard it was in the $2 or $3 billion range. I thought so. If that was the case, I thought we would have already been there by now. That's the problem. It's like I feel like we already would have been there by now if it was only I actually did think it was only $2 to $3 billion worth. So that's why I'm just a little bit confused. That's why I'm just a little bit confused as to why Elon might had to sell more. It could have been a funding issue, a margin loan, bridge loan that needed to get through. Maybe, and this is all, of course, conjecture, but Elon could have had some sort of requirement on financing by a financier, like you need to have this much in cash. Julio says, meet Kevin did a video on Twitter cash burn today. Okay, well, there you go. Any TLDW? Didn't watch? Chris is asking, is this a purposeful setup for a Tesla buyback? Shout, Chris. I don't think so. I've seen this narrative as well. Oh, Tesla is just looking to or Tesla management is just looking to wait until the end of the dump and the Fed pivot, and then they're going to start initiating a buyback. I don't think it's that strategic. and they've said that they're going to wait until next year, anyways. So if they said that they're going to wait until next year to do buyback, I'm not going to consider them starting to initiate a buyback. I think the earliest we hear about a buyback is quarter four earnings call, end of January. Quarter four earnings call, end of January. Jasper, I don't think Elon is timing it. I don't think Elon is trying to time it. I think Elon has pressing needs for cash. That's the only reason why he would sell. Matt says he must be super paranoid about how badly the Fed's going to crash the global economy. I can't say, like, maybe you guys disagree with me. I don't think Elon's sitting here trying to time the market to sell his shares. I think it's almost certainly related to his Twitter purchase, whether it's like someone said, plugging the hole in the leaking boat of Twitter. Maybe it's due to financing needs. Maybe it's due to people that pulled out. I don't think he's just gonna do it to sit in cat. Well, I guess, yeah. I guess I don't know. Julio says, "Yeah, what happens with the stock tomorrow?" Okay, you guys put in the chat. What do you guys think happens with the stock tomorrow? Put in a move. So I'm not, as always, I like to paint all pictures and then we'll probability weight them. So is there a way that Tesla goes up tomorrow? If Elon clarifies and says, "I'm done selling. This is why I sold. I don't expect to be," and whether the market believes him or not, that's a different story. We can get into that here in a second. Elon says he he's going to sell, or he's done selling and he needed to sell because of XYZ reason. I can see the market reacting positively. I can see shorts being like, well, okay, if Elon said he's done, we probably shouldn't be short this thing, potentially. Okay, that's the rose-colored glasses side. If Elon doesn't clarify, can we assume that he sells for the rest of the week? Why not? I mean, why not? So in that respect, I can see short sellers piling in and saying, look, if Elon has to continue to sell this thing, we might as well keep shorting this thing into him selling on the open market. And then there's the middle ground with just a flat move. Let's see what you guys have to say. If I had to probability weight those, barring an Elon tweet clarifying that he's done, I probably say weakness tomorrow. Jasper says down 5% at least tomorrow. Selling for tax write-offs. That's an interesting theory, Jeremy. I've heard that passed around Twitter, and someone asked it as well in our live stream with Tesla Herbert yesterday. But to my knowledge, there was, the shares that he sold were at a loss. So he wouldn't have to actually sell anything for tax purposes there. Also, it'd be a very stupid strategical move if he waited to the end of the year just to do that, right? Pardon me. I'm reading your comment wrong. Selling for tax write-offs, like tax loss harvesting. I don't think so. The bots are out. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Shout out to Sean, our mod here. Hadouken as well. All the mods. I'm trying my best trying to manage the comments here. I appreciate. By the way, thank you for tuning in on a random 6:47 p.m. on a Wednesday evening, wherever you are. Maybe it's 10 p.m. Eastern time. Hit subscribe if you're new. Kevin King with the wrong answers only. He's got a lot of kids to buy Christmas presents for. Red under $150, tanking down $10 tomorrow. Tank, this is all you guys' guesses. Lowers. Up 4%. There is a hot take only. Up. Stock sinks 10%. So you guys are all actually this is pretty diverse. We got a diverse group of people here. If he says he's done selling, yeah, exactly, Marcus. Exactly. Wow, shout out Mimi. Mimi is 3:48 a.m. in Sweden. I've pinned the stream yard link. If anyone wants to come on and say a word or anything, let me know. Martin says, Elon has to clarify other the stock will continue to languish. That's kind of my thoughts as well. Timing is not great. No, it's not great macro speaking wise, for sure. A lot of comments today. Farzad, my man, you want to come on stream? Give us your thoughts on this. Feel free to pin comment. I'm just catching up on the stream here. Update tomorrow. Faisal with the hot takes. Yeah, Faisal. Let's see what else we got here. I mean, it could be true that quarter four is epic, right? I don't know this. Will, you're just talking tongue in cheek here. I think it's fair to say that quarter four is going to be epic, but how is it going to come versus expectations? Because I'm calling it now. A meeting of expectations for quarter four earnings end of January is going to be a missing of expectations, just because how high the bar has been set and how few excuses. Like Tesla really has to knock it out of the park. And I guess Tesla does have an opportunity, rose-colored glasses here. If Tesla really outperforms quarter four earnings report, you can all look back on this and say, despite everything with Elon and everyone saying Elon's not president as Tesla CEO and all this stuff, look at how epic Tesla did quarter four. But I'm telling you, if they meet expectations, debatable. Farzad's coming on. There we go. John, don't be sorry at all. I love all my YouTube members indiscriminately. By the way, if you want to become a YouTube member, feel free to. Link should be in the description. You'll get a little juju beside your name, or an Elon if it's in your first month, I think. I think this is Chris, maybe. Chris says, people hate it too hard on Chicken G for being reasonable. I never hated on the guy. I know you're probably not talking about me specifically, but the thing is, I don't think he predicted Elon selling. I don't think he really predicted the Ukraine war crash. Those are the things. I mean, I don't think he predicted Twitter, but the end result is pretty damn close. So we'll give him that for sure. Valiant says Chicken was right for the wrong reasons. And that's fair. I've never hated on the guy really, ever. It's not really my MO to do that. Let's see here. Do you guys think we hit the 140, the chicken mark? Do you guys think we hit that? Yes or no? Throw it in the chat. We got our boy Farzad in the chat. Blueberry Gang, how's it going?
Something happened?
Dude, it's like what, like 12 your time or what?
It's what a time. It's almost 9. I think this is the latest I've gone on. I saw you going on stream. I saw, do you want to come on? I'm like, sure, I'll be on for a few minutes. Nice. How you feeling?
Well, you tell me. I kind of rambled through my thoughts for a little bit, but breaking. Obviously, Elon has sold shares. 4 and 4 is out. I'll monitor if anything else comes out. But what are your initial thoughts seeing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm going to try to put myself in the shoes of every investor possible, right? If you're somebody who's looking to buy, probably happy. If you're somebody who's holding, probably pretty frustrated, getting some mixed signals. If you're somebody who's looking to sell, you're probably very, very upset. And I think and there's some sort of spectrum in between. For me specifically, I think it's he has every right to do what he wants. It's his shares. He's built the companies from the ground up. He more than deserves to profit from those companies. I think it goes back to the some of the messaging that was out there versus the actions that he's doing as of late could be very well interpreted very differently, and I don't blame anybody for feeling that way, including myself, right? So when you see messages on Twitter like, I'm done selling, even though it's for that specific time period, and then there's more selling twice, 2 times since you said that message.
August was the last one, right? When he said, I wanted to avoid, I think he replied to Sawyer and he said, to avoid an emergency sale of Tesla stock, I needed to sell this week, right?
Yeah. That was the last he said no planned, and he put the word planned.
Right. Sorry, no plan, no more planned.
Which is fine. Listen, hey, that's completely fine. But once that messaging is out there and then additional sales happen, it adds I think it just sort of erodes trust within the subset of the investing community, in my opinion. I also think you're going to have a situation where some of the mystique that's around Elon as somebody who's very well trusted and can, necessarily not do wrong, but has the best interest of everyone in mind at all times. I think that's a very hard thing to live up to. And, I think maybe that's being impacted a little bit. Layer on top of that we're in a bear market. We are in a situation where the Fed it's going to keep going on the train that it's going on. The stock is going in a specific direction, which is down. So from a lot of perspectives for people, what I'm trying to say here is that it sucks for a lot of people. And I think we should definitely recognize that, and it shouldn't go unnoticed. Now, when you're thinking about it within the context of the fundamentals of the company, and if you're somebody who wants to find an opportunity from an investing perspective, this seems like an excellent opportunity to get into the stock for sure. Now, I don't know where the bottom is. Of course, I'm no freaking oracle, but I don't think there is a way to. There's nothing to say as far as put people's mind at ease that this would not upset some people, because it definitely will. Now, what percentage of those people will actually influence the long-term success of the company? That question is still out there. I don't think that's the case, but it is people's livelihoods that we're talking about here. And that's why I think having very good messaging as a public company is important, because of situations like these. You get into these situations where it's murky. It seems to be a one-man show. And when it's a one-man show that's really been great at putting a hug around the retail investing community for so long, and now that hug is not there, especially in the bear market, while he's trying to build out Twitter and make a future there, which more power to him. I'm glad he's doing that. But boy, there's a host of folks on the other side that are looking for guidance and are looking for his leadership. And I think a lot of folks feel left out.
Well, it's tough because he's not going to come out and say, look, I'm going to continue selling because I have this much of debt and I really need to cover that. Or like if he comes out and specifically says anything, it's obvious that shorts are going to chase that. Now, I think shorts have already been chasing Tesla in the last month and a half, 2 months, because Elon never clarified after what he had formed for his last month as well, right? Or how long ago has it been now?
I think it was about 1 month. Yeah, I think it's been about.
And he never clarified that he's done after that, right? So I remember for the first, for the first week after that, we were all like, "Well, he's going to continue to sell," and then we kind of forgot about it. But we still saw general relative market weakness on Tesla since then. Yeah. And lo and behold, today, last 3 days, we get Elon selling. So I think I think the way to look at this, I'm looking at this as a, let's say, Tesla retail investor, is until Elon says he's done, I'm just going to assume that he has been selling and will continue selling. Is that fair?
I think that's a great strategy. I would say that from this point forward, just assume Elon can sell at any time. From this point forward, and don't expect him to come out and say that he's done or not say, because guess what? If any of us sell stock, we don't come out and announce that we're done selling. He is like,
he is
the largest shortage. Sure, I can totally see that, but it totally worked against him, because if he doesn't know what his, if plans changed from when he sold back in August, I get it. Maybe, you trapped yourself in a corner in a way, and maybe you don't feel like you have to justify your actions because shit changes all the time. And perhaps you put yourself in a situation where you felt it was financially responsible to sell some shares to pay down the debt on Twitter. Okay, great. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you did that. But just keep in mind, you're running a public company here that's predominantly heavy in retail investor base that is on Twitter and is on YouTube. Okay. If that's not part of the equation, I completely respect that too. And that's just how it is and what it is. And we have to just learn how to navigate through it as investors.
Right. You either say, I'm done with this, or you say, I'm fine with this in spite. And I guess, Wall Street kind of has that kind of sense to it all. Whenever it talks about Tesla, it's kind of like they're holding their nose talking about Tesla and be like, yeah, the fundamentals are really good. The margins are really good. Growth's really good. But there's this CEO risk all the time. And it's been this has been a long standing narrative with Tesla, of course, with Elon. But okay. But, let's get Clancy in here to ask a question, viewer, if you want to join me as well, Farzad, for a question.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Okay, let's do it. Sure. Clancy, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good. How are you guys?
Good,
man.
I think I've just been. It's a little bit challenging because I think as an investor, you think I think your thesis is getting challenged, and then you put some of your identity into both your net worth and your investment decisions. And I think some of this is just being questioned. So I think recently, Farzad has had some good videos on it. I think Emmett said something the other day. So I think it's just a bit of a struggle from, a bit of a personal perspective because, your identity is getting challenged from a few different perspectives. So yeah, it's a tough time for sure.
Yeah. Do you look at the fundamentals, Clancy, and go, okay, this has potential to change, like revenue growth, EPS, anything like that with what's going on, let's say in the last month at all?
And that's it. Like, I think that we've all got strong belief in the company, but as the share price comes down, your belief tends to wane. And then you once again question your ability. And then there's also two different types of investors. And I was heavily leveraged and I got hurt on the downside massively. So as a long term, I think people were getting mixed up some short term and long term kind of investment strategies. And I think everyone long term feels good, but I think short term, lots of people are hurting. And yeah, I think I got in late 2020, so I'm down substantially. But then, a lot of my account has been hurt because I was heavily leveraged with some options on the downside. So
yeah, that's fair. Thanks, Clancy. Anything else?
Cheers. No, I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
Right on.
Appreciate you, man.
Clancy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, it's you talk about the fundamentals. Like, I think the bar here's what I was kind of trying to portray. Tesla better, the company, of course, in Q4, really better hit it out of the park. Not for me, because it's just one quarter. I look at the general longer term trend. But I'm talking about Wall Street. If Wall Street goes, look at all these antics happening, and we can get into a debate. I'm sure there's gonna be people that says there's no antics and this is just all noise, which I generally think is I have time for that argument. Sure. But if Tesla and Wall Street, if Wall Street looks at Tesla's quarter four earnings end of January and Tesla doesn't hit out of the park, it's such an easy narrative. It's those articles are going to be pre-written, right? Elon Musk causes Tesla company to suffer quarter four and misses revenue, ESP, all this stuff, China demand down because of this. Like, it's just
especially when he says epic Q4, right? When the epic Q4 verbiage was put out there as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I forgot about that. They like Tesla company. This is where it's kind of it's not a monumental turning point. I think that'd be overstating the scenario, but there is an opportunity too. If, speaking as an entrepreneur, every problem is an opportunity. If Tesla does over deliver and really kill it with quarter four earnings, despite everything out of the park, now that's a different story. Right. Now, we're not going to say that's the base case because I don't think that's fair to say until it happens. But even I think meeting expectations, those narratives might come out of the woodwork. What do you think? Yeah,
I think that's fair. I think the not hitting out of the park, though, in this context is very subjective, right? Because there's two different variables here. One is perceived knocking out of the park by mainstream media, Wall Street, so on and so forth. And then it's knocking out of the park within the context of every other automaker that's out there within this macroeconomic environment. And I think the second one is much more important to focus on here, because if Wall Street's saying 450, and then for some reason China forces Tesla to come in at 430,
that's too high. Yeah, 450 is too high.
And everybody else, and I think they are at 430. But regardless, if Tesla posts record Q4, if their margins are steady or going up, if their operating leverage is kicking in, if they're giving good guidance for next year and say they miss deliveries by a little bit, to me, it's like, okay, who cares? Like, for real, like, who cares? It's the story is alive and well. As a long-term investor, that's what I'm focused on. But could there be a environment where the narrative short-term is going to get hammered even further? Of course, absolutely. If there's one thing I learned during this bear market, anything is possible. Literally, just whatever you think can't go right, times that by 4. 400, whatever, just pick a number, right? There's too many variables in a bear market that can introduce a lot of downward pressure. There is a part of me that's still, again, ever optimist than me, that says that at some point the price to earnings ratio, the price to earnings growth ratio, the price to sales, whatever metric you want to use, at some point the equation just breaks, because you still have a company that's slated to grow at least 40% year over year. You still have class leading margins. You still have a ripe market that's 97% gas cars that you can eat into. You still have every single world government is pushing towards EV, especially in the US with the IRA. There's the amount of catalysts. You got Cybertruck next year, you got robotaxi, cheaper car. These are the things that I hang on to. That's the word I'm going to use today, hang on to, because that's what really matters long term. It's how is the company going to perform from a financial perspective. So, but short term, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And really the only advice I have for that is just for the individual, put yourself in a financial situation where you can absorb the worst case scenario. Because if there's something we learned during this period, at least I learned, I want to speak on behalf of everybody, is that the worst case scenario could be worse than you think.
Yeah, and to be fair, I wouldn't be fair if I didn't voice some comments that I even get from people that say like, look, I'm not going to be invested in Tesla, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to be invested in Tesla, but they still love the products, or they still own the products. The question is really, and I guess we're mostly speaking from a Tesla stock perspective, so there's that. But does this leak? And we're having a conversation with Boomer Mama Alexandra yesterday, and she was saying, look, all this noise about Tesla demand and like Elon tainting the brand image and reputation will go away in 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm generally on that board as well. But for people that are worried longer term, they're worried about that. Like, forget about that's why you talk about multiples going down, especially for Teslas. When people start seeing that as a risk. And you talked about Cybertruck there, and actually I'll pull it up here. Shout out to Rodrigo, super chatting $5. Please, why no Cybertruck final design? New product can fix possible brand damage. I think that's totally fair. I think the Cybertruck is gonna turn heads when it says out. It's just I've just been perpetually thinking it's 6 months away for the last couple of years now. So yeah, I think the Cybertruck will definitely affect I think it'll introduce a new pool of people to Tesla that today might be a little bit resilient to wanting to try a Tesla and kind of just wanting to stay away from that idea. But I agree.
Yeah, I personally think the brand damage equation, just based on a little bit of the research I've done anecdotally, I think it's blown way out of proportion, to be completely honest. I think my opinion, please feel free to disagree with me, and I encourage you to disagree with me and test that hypothesis, right? So the research I've done is I'm just randomly talking to people when I go out. I just randomly talk to people. Hey, what do you think of Elon? What do you think of Tesla? The general sense is like, yeah, I hear there's some crazy stuff going on, but I don't have time to follow it. Oh, what do you think of Tesla? Yeah, really cool car. One of my friends has it. It drives itself. Okay, cool. Would you consider buying a Tesla? Hell yeah. It's pretty cool. That's the kind of conversation I have with most people. Again, but that's my region, right? I live in Austin, Texas region. The people that I talk to maybe are not the same people that y'all talk to, right? So that's one. And then the second one is, I think in history and different things that I've researched, there is a certain percentage of the population, I believe, that will go out of their way to not buy something because they truly believe that brand is tarnished. But the giant majority of the population, I'm talking 80 to 90% plus, buy the things that make the most financial sense from what I've found. And the examples I like to use are things like Amazon, where nobody is a fan of Jeff Bezos, it seems like, but literally everybody uses Amazon, even the people that are super anti-warehouse, like the way they treat their employees. They're the ones getting same day delivery. Okay. So at some point there is a cost convenience equation that kicks in that says, who cares who's leading the company? Is the product the right fit for me? And I think at some point that's not at some point. I think that is the driving force behind things like Tesla. And I would encourage, and listen, I am not gospel here. I encourage everybody to really test this out if they really feel the opposite. And I would encourage you to not just assume that's the case. Go out there and talk to people outside of your circle to confirm that, or to try to do a little bit of research to confirm that. Track the quarterly reports and see if the demand issues are really bigger than they seem, right? Like, do the research to ensure it. Because if that is part of the equation of, hey, I'm worried about Tesla, Tesla. I really don't think so. I think this is just us. We're in a bubble. You and I are the bubble. Like we're in YouTube speaking about Tesla to fans of Tesla, and there's a lot of noise around this stuff. But generally speaking, I think it's healthy for us to step out of our bubble and see how this is really impacting most of the world, and you'll quickly realize that most people do not care about what's going on, and they're just more worried about their own lives and being happy and buying things that make them happy, and that's it.
Yeah. Again, I think this is a longer term. If it is a problem, capital letters, if it's a 2030 brand issue, is like, do you want this to be a headwind?
Way
do you want
more.
this? Yeah. Well, it depends on unit
In my
volumes by
opinion.
then, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to
Yeah.
have a brand that's a headwind. You'd rather have a brand that's a tailwind for you and make it easier. But yeah, we can have that discussion later. Do you have a breaking point here with patience levels? Because I sense a lot of frustration, especially in the chat, about people saying like, okay, well, we're just going to assume he's going to continue to sell for the next 6 more months here. Like, I can't take it. Do you have a personal breaking point where you kind of look at not your Tesla investment, but like just general narrative breaking point for you, like mentally speaking? Forget about the investment even for now, just as Tesla as a company.
Not really. And maybe it's because I survived 2017, 2018, 2016. Maybe because I was at the company while all this crazy stuff was going on at the time, and I'm just a sucker for pain. I don't know what to tell you. For me, it's the only way this breaks down is if the fundamentals of the company no longer work. And I just don't see, I view that as extremely unlikely. It would have to be a cataclysmic event where the product literally becomes worst in class and profitability becomes worst in class. At that point, my alarm bells go off. But until then, it's noise that is valid. It could have been 100% avoided.
Yeah, right.
And it's a
that's
short
what burns
term,
though. Isn't
100%.
right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
absolutely.
what burns? Is like
Yeah.
It was kind of botched the way it was done. Like
Yeah.
But Elon, I can already hear Elon pushing back and be like, "What do you want me to like tweet out that I'm going to sell for the next 2 weeks?" Like
he'll say, "Don't buy the stock." Well, then don't buy the stock.
Yeah,
okay,
right?
yeah, that's okay. Okay,
I feel like
it's
I
your
already know
company.
what
It's
he's gonna
fair.
tweet. Yeah, well, that's exactly.
He
what
has
I
every
kinda
right
go
to
back
say
on.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But so here's the thing: is like communication aspect, right? Is like now I am very curious because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday he sold, including today's form 4's came out, 3.5 billion. Now, if we don't hear from Elon tonight before market open tomorrow, can we assume that he's going to sell the rest of the week as well? Are you leaning towards that as kind of the base case?
I've stopped thinking about it. I don't even, honestly. This thing could go to 50 and I'm just going to be like, okay,
don't say that.
Whatever. I mean, honestly, what do you want me to do?
Oh yeah.
I'm a long-term investor. This is like, I when I bought my shares and I put myself in this situation, I said, at some point, like there's an X number of shares I'm just not going to touch. And there's no way in hell I'm going to touch them now, Elon is running $5 multi-billion-dollar company. He can't manage all of our investment strategies. I get it. At the same time, like, I think it's okay to be upset with the way he's been executing some of the stuff, especially, the divisiveness on Twitter. I think one can make an argument about how that's impacting,
You know what it is? Okay, so people that aren't happy, I'm gonna exclude myself from this conversation for a second and say people
that's
that
not fair.
that already looked at Twitter and they said, I don't like this deal. I don't like it for XYZ reason. They said that 2 months ago. First of all, you have that right to say that, but it is Elon using his own money to buy it. But let's say they looked at Twitter and said, "Oh, this is a distraction. I don't like it." And then the divisive tweets this weekend, let's say, caused a media storm, whatever. And then you have Elon selling essentially to fund that, and you kind of look at that. And I'm trying to speak for a group of I think Tesla investors that look at this and they go, "What is happening? I didn't like this thing. It got bad from worse." And then now all of a sudden you see selling of Teslas, of course, all legal. Elon can do whatever he wants. Elon's his own man. He didn't get here by following the convention. But they look at that and they kind of connect the dots a little bit. And they go, well, essentially what's happening here is this is being funded by my money is the way they look at it. And I'm not sure if that's the right way to look at it, let's say, per se, but that's kind of, I think, where the animosity, and then there's another degree, and I'm trying to just iterate out narratives that I see, hopefully, and we can have a general discussion on this later, but people go and they look at, okay, well, we're not hearing anything from Tesla investor relations on the stock decoupling 30% versus the NASDAQ. We're not seeing anything from the board. People have been calling for buybacks, which I know are going to happen next year. Like, let's not try to push this into this year, I think. And I don't think that's going to save anything.
Buybacks are so irrelevant in this context, to be completely honest.
I mean, long term for sure. Short term is not going to save anything.
Within
and then they look at the silence and they go, okay, well, on top of that, everything's kind of silent. We're not hearing anything. So it's just kind of the waters are so muddied, right, during these times. But anyways, I just brain dumped on you. If you want to talk, if you want to take any one of those points.
No, I love it. I think, and I props to you for vocalizing that, because that's what I hear as well. You know, in my DMs and in my comments and all that stuff, people are not happy, man. People are not happy with how it's going. We can talk until our faces are blue if this is right or wrong or good or bad. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What it comes down to is that there is a gap in the investing community for Tesla right now, and it feels like it's not being handled properly. That is a fact, you know? And I'm not here to tell people to feel differently. That's not my role. You know, my role is to vocalize what I'm feeling and see if I can put out my lived experiences for people to say, okay, I'm going to compare yours to mine, and if yours is trash, I'm going to block you. Perfect. Like, it's great. Like that's I think how the world should work, right? I think really I go back to my comment around, I can't remember if I said this to you. Maybe it was with her. I've done like 4 interviews today, bro. I'm like, my brain is melted. Elon has been very good. I don't think I've told you this. Elon has been very good at giving humanity a hug for the last 10 years, right? We're advancing the world to sustainable future. We're going to work together to solve this problem. We're going to make the air clean for ourselves and our children. We're going to bring everybody on this boat together. I'm so pro humanity. I'm so pro this. I'm so pro that. And for the last 3 months, all the actions have been the opposite, have been quite divisive, right? And I'm not saying if they're correct or incorrect. I'm not going to say where I align with him on the political spectrum and which ones I find correct or not. But something has changed, right or wrong. Something has changed in both that verbiage, and I also believe in the way that the retail investor has been, quote unquote, catered to for the last 10 years, and the way he's been so welcoming and so appreciative of that support. You know, that verbiage, that same level of care, that same level of openness and transparency has changed, right? And so I think that is at the root of the problem here. That is at the root of the problem. It's the double-edged sword of having such an open and transparent leader that's a role model for so many, that so many trust. And now that person, right or wrong, is acting against what I think the public viewed as an action that would never be performed by that person. And that's what's creating some of the animosity. And of course, don't let me put words in anyone's mouth. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I think this is some of the issue. And that's the double-edged sword of being a one-man show. And that's just what it is. And the one thing that is that I'm very appreciative of is that as of late, Elon has done a really good job showing the other talent of Tesla, bringing other people forward, making other people faces of Tesla, so that if Elon wants to embark, and he has every right to do this, if he wants to embark on his own journey and say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants, at least the retail investor that has been so catered to for the last 10 years will not feel like the singular symbol of this retail investing strategy is not stabbing him in the back. And at least they have, again, right or wrong. I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but I feel like this is how people feel, and this is what I'm reading in my comments and in my DMs. And that is a strategy that, in my opinion, Elon and Tesla should at the very least consider. And if they decide, we're not worried about this, we're just worried about the engineering, and if you don't want to buy it, that's on you, we don't care, we're going to move forward, then cool. Okay, so you're going to use the same culture you use in the company, where it's like, screw your feelings, screw your ego, let's just get it done. Perfect. But guess what? Anybody can buy Tesla stock. Not everybody can work at Tesla, right? So it's like, where's there's a compatibility issue here, guys. There's a compatibility issue here. What are we doing? But I'm not going to tell him how to run his company. I'm just looking at,
you just know that you would do it differently if you had to.
100%, but that's me. And
Right.
but guess what? I probably
not-
will
yeah,
never
yeah.
be able to make Tesla either. Like I'll never get
Go
a
sell yourself
electric
short, but
vehicle company.
I
Well,
get it.
I can tell you for sure, I will not be able to do that.
I get it, though.
That is my observation. If I'm going to put my observer hat on and observe what's going on, because ultimately that's what I love doing is observing things, and I'm curious about stuff.
Yeah.
This is what's happening, and I would love for people to tell me if I'm right or wrong. But this is
Everyone's
my
agreeing
take.
with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Dead nuts, correct. That's how correct you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have nuts, but I'm not dead.
No,
not yet anyway.
yeah,
Knock on wood.
no. So I mean, so that's the thing is like, okay. So I look at this and I go, next steps for me is when do we hear from Elon? Next steps for me. I'm talking like I'm running something, but mentally speaking, I'm just like, okay, I'm looking out for Elon to clarify. And in absence of that, I'm just going to continue to assume the stock will be attacked, short seller in the short term. Stocks will be attacked by short sellers that will want to front run Elon. You could argue that was what was happening the last month when we didn't get clarity from Elon selling. And I guess we retail investors forgot about it, but hedge funds probably didn't. That would explain some of the decoupling, plus all the divisiveness. And then if we do hear from Elon, let's say, hey, look, this is what happened, wanted to reduce my debt. He's already kind of said that, right? Like I wanted to reduce debt. We kind of, so if he says I'm kind of wanting to rejig a little bit, be more in cash, should be good now.
Yeah.
Should be good. Like very like loose language even. I think that's a different story. And I think people would still, I know there's a degree of cynicism even believing if that were to happen, if Elon wouldn't sell again, but at least that would, and let me know in the comments if you guys think I'm wrong. Would that help to hear from Elon to have that?
If I was his advisor, like if if I was next to him right now, I'm like, okay, let's figure out where you are now. Let's see where you are now. I would recommend that he won't say anything. Like I'm saying, just don't. You already said something. The plans change. I get it. Just move forward. But please figure out a way so that your company can cater to the retail investor. So that it's not so dependent on your actions on how the retail investing community feels, that it's the company becomes a larger force towards that, and this is not an indictment on Elon's character. It's just when you have somebody that's so transparent so often to the retail investing community, and when he has a right to exercise something that's going to cause a rift, this is why PR departments exist. This is why communications departments exist, to try and avoid this issue. Does Apple have this problem with its investing community? Does Disney have this problem with its investing community? They don't. But at the same time, they're also not going to be a multi-trillion-dollar company. Who knows how big they're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? They're not solving autonomous driving. They're not solving for a freaking humanoid robot. This is what happens when you have a brilliant person at the head of a company who has decided to be the face of the company. This is what it is. And it sucks, and like, if I think back to the last 10 years I started investing in 2012, 60 to 70% of that time, it sucked so bad to be a Tesla investor. And the last 2 years have been it's reverted back to the mean. From 2014 to 2019, it sucked. It would go up, FUD attack. It would go up, FUD attack. It would go up, FUD attack. It would go up, bankruptcy. It would go up, Elon calls somebody a pedo. It would go up, oh my God, the company's going bankrupt. It would go up, oh my God, the Model 3 is a piece of shit, right? Like, it's like constant. And I'm working at the company. I come home, oh my God, you should quit the company because this company sucks. You should sell all your stock, blah, blah, blah. Like constant, all the time. This is what it was to be a Tesla investor. So for the last 2 years, we all went to a different dimension where everything was great and this thing exploded. But this is what it used to feel like all the time. So maybe that's why I'm like not worried by it at all, because it reminds me in what it was. But when you're a profitable company that's 100,000 people deep and you have such a big investing base and you do have the potential to become the largest company in the world, is this how you want your investor relations to be like? That's the question. And that's not for me to answer. Right? Yeah. That's the company's decision, and they have every right to make the decision they want. Me as an investor, I'm going to view that as okay. Regardless of what decision you make, I'm going to analyze what your profitability is. I'm going to analyze what markets you're in. I'm not even going to think about your leader in that perspective, because now I'm really going to look at you as I would any other company. And the Elon Musk mystique, and I'm sad to say this, needs to be taken out of the equation, and it has to be looked at extremely hardcore. until Elon decides that the investing community is a bigger priority. Until then, we're just setting ourselves up for failure in this short term. That's just what it is. That's the way I view it.
I like it. And I do see comments of people that say, for me, and this is them saying, for them, fundamentals have changed. They look at it and they go, fundamentals have changed. I disagree. I think I don't think Tesla's going to sell fewer cars next year because of
gotten better.
What's happening. They've gotten better, you could argue, but everyone has to make their decision for themselves, whether or not they think it has or not, right? People have different ways they model companies. Not everyone models it the same way we do, or I do, or you do. So yeah, you have to make that decision for yourself. I do look at next year though. I'm like, it's hard not to get excited, considering Tesla's advantage, relative strength in the auto market next year with the recession that happens as a pure EV play at scale. Every other automaker is shrinking. Every other EV manufacturer out there is nowhere near Tesla's 2 million, let's say, projected, plus or minus for next year. It's just going to be, obviously all autos are going to be weak in terms of margin, price strength, whatever, but relatively, we have to look at the relative strength or weakness of any auto, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And BYD might be the only one that gets relatively close to their total delivery numbers. Probably not, but they make way less money per car. So even that story within the context of units sold versus profitability, Tesla's still king, and we still haven't talked about layering on full self-driving and so on and so forth. Listen, ultimately, I think this time is a great learning lesson for all of us. I think this is such a beautiful time for all of us to sit down and learn about what it really means to be an investor during a bear market, and what it means to be invested in something that you believe in, and what it means to have somebody that maybe you looked at a certain way, and when they start acting in a certain, in a way that you disagree with, how does that impact your thesis, right? This is all great data, and this whole a phoenix rises from the ashes analogy it's said because it's real. It's a lived experience that I've had, where every single great time I've ever had in my life is born out of suck. Out of suck, because you absorb the lessons, you set yourself up for better for next time, and then you move forward. And then you move forward with new data, a new way of looking at the world, a new understanding, and you just turn out to be better as a person. So maybe I'm a little sick in the head, but ultimately for me, I'm grateful for moments like these because I get to learn a lot. And the additional bonus for me is that I get to share a platform with you, Yash, is that we can get in front of people, and hopefully we're helping in some way, voicing out frustration, being a sounding board, allowing people to air out their frustration, asking questions, giving us advice, right? This is what's beautiful about the time that we live in now. And that to me is my biggest takeaway, is that there's a human connection here that we're trying to wade through. And this moment in time is a learning lesson for all of us, but it should not be lost that there's a lot of people hurting financially right now, and that sucks. And I think the company could have done a little bit better in communicating its intentions, and to at least give the community that has been so open, and again, given that hug to, a little bit more care, I think it deserves it. But ultimately, it's up to the company. And if an individual can separate that from just purely being an investor, ultimately, you're best positioned to really take advantage of opportunities. And that is what long-term investing is.
Beautifully said. I'll leave out with this comment. Ramesh says, people can evaluate differently at different times for the same thing. Many analysts upgraded Tesla when PE was 1,400, or maybe stock. Same analysts cut estimates when the PE is now at 50, 28 times more than 2 years ago. That's kind of it. It's PE, valuations, all of this is subjective. You have to look at it, why you got in the first place. And you know what? I kind of, to a degree, get it, because some people got into Tesla because of Elon and Elon only. It was, they look at their bet and they're like, I'm betting on this guy. I'm hitching my wagon to Elon. So when Elon gets divisive, or, starts being quiet around Tesla, now they have to reevaluate that a little bit. But I like the fundamental story a lot better in evaluating it based on cars sold, margins, TAM, vertical integration, energy business, robo-taxis, all that sort of stuff you can enter in. So I get it, because people have entered Tesla for different reasons, right? I think we forget that, because I was a lot later, right? I wasn't even until I sat in a Tesla 2019, 2020, really, when I started following the stock lot. Whereas you worked there, you've invested since 2012, so you have a different MO when it comes to your investing in Tesla, even.
Yeah. It's man, it's weird time. That's really the best way for me to summarize this. It's I think what's sad for me to see is that sometimes, the Tesla community is incredible. It really is. Let me reiterate. I really believe this is a short-term thing. Again, just to my opinion, this sucks. It really does. But I really think it's short-term. Call it 3 months. I don't know, 6 months. Just put whatever you view as short-term. Put that stamp on it. Okay. I view that as short-term. But what I don't like to see is that there is a community now that is quite divided in how it sort of sees what's happening. And what I hope, this is just me throwing this out there as a way for maybe, as part of the Tesla community with a platform, I think it's best for us to ensure that we listen to each other and allow each other to air out what our frustrations are or what we think is positive about the story. And let's just talk to each other. Let's be understanding of each other. Let's be empathetic of each other for both, like, I'm in a crappy situation to, hey, I'm just buying hand over fist. Guess what? I think both are correct, and that's okay. And in the age that we live in now, I think it's very, very important for this to not be a wedge issue. I think we should turn this into something that we can use to come together and help each other how to navigate through this area. If you're somebody that feels really confident about buying hand over fist, say why. If you're somebody that's frustrated about what's going on now, say why. It's okay. Like, we shouldn't judge each other. This is just the time that we're living now. But there's a lot of learning lessons here, and I think learning those together is going to be the most powerful. And then there's going to be better days ahead, as there always will be. And and I'm still extremely optimistic about the future. But there's a lot of learning to do today, and that's great. As human beings, ultimately, that's what's most important.
That's what I love about this community, is that I always learn something from someone. And really, like, that's why I started channels, because I just wanted to talk Tesla with other people. Like, that was literally it. So
Same.
I appreciate everyone tuning in on a late night stream. Thanks, Farzad, for your impromptu time here to
thank
chat.
you for having me on. Yeah,
and
sorry I hogged up your airtime.
No, this is great. This is so impromptu. I was recording a video about Tesla PEG, PE, valuation, Apple, Amazon. And in the middle of doing that, I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, I got to switch gears and just go live.
YouTube creation at its finest. You have this whole thing planned out. Something comes out in the news. Crap.
Yeah. And now I have to disappoint myself even more, because I have to go watch this Canucks game, which I'm already late for.
Oh, my God. Well, you better go do that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Josh.
Take care, everyone. I love you guys. Become a subscriber. Leave me a comment down below as to your thoughts. Everyone's right. Everyone's wrong. Everything's subjective during these times.
Let's talk.
Yes, exactly. All right, guys. Much love. Take care, everyone. Peace.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks to all Patreons. I'll catch you guys on Discord in a second. Much love.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.
And broadcast.